Oh, sorry. Good morning, everybody. I just had my mic on mute there. Hopefully you guys can see me and hear me all right. We're going to get started here pretty soon. Just going to make sure everyone gets a chance to join in, grab coffee, invite your other coworkers if you'd like. Should be a fun show. We're going to talk about basically almost everything that you need to know about transitioning from your tried and true classic version top producer 8i to our latest and greatest top producer X. I'm your host, Dan Salcedo. Joining me today is Spencer Powell. I'm just going to get everything set up here. It'll just take me a few seconds. So now's your chance to kind of get your coffee and kind of get settled in. So I'll be sharing my screen here pretty soon. All right, so if you guys can't see my screen, just let me know and I'll get that sorted for us. But let me just get things set up for us here. Sorry, guys, should be just another moment here. Looks like I'm just getting Spencer to join us and join the fun here. Spencer, are you there now? Oh, just unmute. All right, well, Spencer gets that going. Thank you so much for joining us today. We've got a good attendance list, it looks like. If you don't mind, please post in chat. Let us know where you're joining us from. Let us know if you get any leads online. I just want to make sure you guys can see and hear me all right. That's mainly the thing. But it would be nice to know where you guys are joining us from. Maybe we can tailor some of our language, our instructions towards where you are and what kind of online needs you get. So just post in chat. That'd be awesome. Mary McDonald, Toronto, nice, fellow Canadian. So we're here in Vancouver, Canada. Me and Spencer are. Shirley Matlock, Ellicott City, Maryland. Rolando Argueta, Fremont, California. Nicole Wood, Atlanta, Georgia. Ron Mitchell, Maple Ridge, nice. Come on over, Ron. Let's have some beer. Just kidding. Laurie Schumacher, Park City, Utah, nice, awesome. Cool, so thank you so much for confirming that you guys can see me and hear me all right. Steve Marsacci, Rhode Island, nice. All right, so today we're going to be talking about, like I said, upgrading from top producer 8i to top producer X. Not going to try to fully convince you guys to, go cold turkey and get rid of 8i and just start using top producer X. The goal, at least for me today, is just to give you guys enough information so you guys can get that transition started. Everyone's situation is different. So there is going to be different learning curves for each office. So hopefully with the information that you get from today, it'll make that process a little bit more seamless and you can kind of get an idea of, why you want to go into top producer X after the show. Joyce Pepin from Ormond Beach, Florida. Nice. So Spencer is here with me, but before I get him to introduce myself, my name is Dan Salcedo. I've been with the company for over 12 years now in the customer care department. So I was there when we were all complaining that we had to go from 7i to 8i, right? We didn't want to get rid of our 7i. And now we're doing the same thing. We don't want to get rid of 8i, and we're going into TPX. But I promise you, in the long run, TPX is going to be where you're going to be able to close all of your deals. It's going to be really good for you guys in the long run. We just need to get over that first hump of, starting that transition. So like I said, I've been with the company for over 12 years, been through it all, spoke to many different types of realtors, many different scenarios. So hopefully that will serve me well when you guys have questions in the Q&A or in the chat section of Zoom. So please don't be shy, post anything that you like, even any negative feedback. I love them. I always want any kind of feedback so we can do a better job for you guys. As you guys know, for all these years, we're a very feedback-oriented customer support team, and we love to give you that 5-star support all the time. So if we're not giving you 5-star, we're always trying to do something to earn that from you guys. And again, like I said, joining me is Spencer Powell. Go ahead, Spencer.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for having me here today.
I think you're still on mute.
Can you hear me? Can anyone hear me?
Can someone in chat, if you guys don't mind, can you guys confirm if you can hear Spencer or not? I'm wondering if maybe it's just me. Oh, okay.
Okay. So
you can hear Spencer. Okay, good. It's just me then.
Oh, weird.
That's not good. But that's okay. We can continue. I'll try my best to read lips. No, just kidding. We do have an internal messaging system here on the side here, so we can communicate with between each other, no problem. So we'll just go with it right now, and if we run into any issues, we'll pause along the way, but should be okay. Chris Zubricki, will there be a recorded version that we can view after the webinar? Yes, Chris. This show and all of our shows are always recorded. So if you have to run out to an appointment or you get a really important call, go take that call. Take care of your clients first, right? It is recorded. It'll be on our YouTube channel. So Spencer will post that in the chat, the link to our YouTube channel where you can watch the recorded version. No problem, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. We'll make sure that you have
so let me just make a
with
quick adjustment on my side here.
All right, guys, thanks for waiting. Dan's just sorting out some settings with his Zoom, I think. Should just be another moment here. But in the meantime, I've got the link to our YouTube page in the Zoom chat here. So it's it's youtube.com/top producer software.
Okay.
Can you hear me, Dan?
Yeah, I can hear you. I was able to fix it. Thank you for that on the side, but yeah, I can hear you now. Awesome. Okay. All right. Perfect. So hopefully you guys can see my notes here. We're gonna move on. Let's catch up on our presentation here. I apologize for the delay. I just need to give you guys a little bit of a heads up. Each person's scenario is different. So if we don't cover your scenario, I'm gonna just apologize in advance and ask for your patience. There will be some questions from other realtors that might not pertain to you. So I apologize ahead of time if we get a little bit sidetracked. We just want to make sure everyone's kind of getting the benefit out of this webinar. So I will try to keep things moving along the way because we do just have an hour and there's a lot to talk about. But if you have to go at the end of that hour, that's okay. This is recorded anyways. But we'll do some final questions at the very end. All right. So before we talk about, actually, this is one of the things that is new in Top Producer X that is not in the older Top Producer 8i version. We have something called the automated lead response plan. And what this basically allows you to do now is to automate a lot of that initial first impression with your new lead that you get online, so that you don't have to do the manual labor of having to text them one time and then having to text them another time, email them, or set up a call, remind yourself to set up a call, or remind yourself to send them a market snapshot. You can set up this automated lead response plan so that not only will it send that automated initial text response to your new online lead right away, but you can set it up so that, let's say 10 minutes later, it'll send them another text message. And then let's say an hour later, you can send them another text message or even an email. And then 8 hours later, you can send them both, right? So with this new automated lead response plan, it takes a lot of that manual work that you have to do with online leads. As you guys know, a lot of online leads are, some of them are not very good, right? Depending on who your lead source is, whether that's realtor.com, Zillow, or even your own website. Sometimes it can be a hit and miss. I know that. That's the reality of it, right? But unfortunately, the other reality is a lot of consumers are now going online to look for homes, right? It's becoming less and less common that, people do the traditional work of, looking up someone's information or using, calling the person's phone that they remember from that bus stop advertising or that marketing, right? So people don't remember any of that stuff. They have short attention span. What they're just going to do is they're just going to go on Google, ask the almighty Google and say, homes for sale in Maple Ridge, homes for sale, in Park City, Utah, whatever, right? They're just doing online searches now, right? So if you're not online already and you're not getting online leads, you might really want to highly consider that. And to help you automate some of that response that you have to do for those online leads, we have this new feature called the automated lead response, where it'll send them text messages, emails multiple times a day. And on the same day, multiple touch points. Now, this is the new one. This is a new feature in Top Producer X. Unfortunately, this is not possible in 8i, especially with the text message. So we'll get into the text message a little bit more later in the show. But this is one of those things that because 8i is built on technology that started in the 90s, it doesn't have the foundational requirements for us to be able to make it work in 8i, right? So this is only available in Top Producer X. And if you haven't tried it yet, Spencer just posted the link to the blog on everything about this new automated lead response. So if there's one thing that you can take away from this show, it's this new feature. I'm sure that you guys are going to love it. We're getting a lot of really positive feedback from realtors, getting some really good results because they're using it. Anything to say about this one, Spencer?
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't like increased return on investment, right? If you're paying good money for those online leads, just makes sense to make the most of every single one, right? And if you guys are out and about, you're at a showing, you're at an appointment, you're helping your clients, that's not your fault, right? Like you're busy. And so that's exactly where something like this really comes in to help you out, have your back, buy you some time, if you will. So if you're out, you can't respond to that lead right now, the lead response plan is really gonna jump in for you temporarily and then let you take over when you are you free. So it's such a huge increase in value in Top Producer X, and it's just included. It's just part of the CRM now.
Yeah, so now starting with the other things that are new in Top Producer X, we've got something we call the 360 contact view, and it makes it a lot easier for you to see all the different communication avenues that you have with each contact that you have, each client. You can see their text messages, their emails, all the notes that you've put in. And something we've also added, something called Property Insights. And this is mainly targeted towards our buyer realtors in the audience. You'll get a text from your client saying, hey, I want to look at these two houses. You'll get a call from them like 2 days later saying, hey, I want to look at these houses. And then maybe you'll get an email saying, hey, I want to look at these houses, right? So sometimes you'll have them on your notes, sometimes you'll have them on your text message, sometimes you'll have it in your Gmail or in your iCloud email, right? It would be nice to have it all centralized in one list. So we have something called Property Insights. And I'd like to get Spencer to talk about this a little bit more. Maybe I'll walk through it live on the screen while Spencer talks about both these two.
Sounds good, Dan. And just really quick, guys, since there was the confusion and sound issues at the beginning, so just so you know who I am, I'm not just some random guy on the show with Dan today. My name is Spencer. I'm our senior customer success rep with Top Producer, and so I take care of usually at least 3 weekly webinars and jump in on the occasional one like this as well. So I take care of a lot of the onboarding and coaching for new customers, and I teach our other customer success reps how to do that as well. So always good to be here and chat with you guys directly, or multiple people at once, I should say, which is always fun. But yeah, so on the screen here, Dan is showing off Top Producer X. And so he's going into a contact record to the Property Insights section. And so as you can see, it's just kind of in the middle of the list there of the different options of the contact record. And really what this is just a dedicated spot for you to keep track of all the different properties this buyer is interested in. So whether it's something they've just casually inquired about online, maybe it's something that they've actually shown interest in and they've asked you about, or maybe they want to set up a showing for, or maybe it's something that you've actually already shown them, or even just sent to them as like a recommendation, like, hey, I think you'd really like this one. Why don't you check it out, right? Those are all things that you can use Property Insights for. Document them there, keep track of them. So that way you don't have it all cluttered up in your notes section. You're trying to find those previous properties. So this is specifically to keep track of properties for your buyers. So if someone's a seller, you wouldn't really need to use Property Insights. It's just for the buyers. So as you can see, Dan has grabbed an MLS listing ID number from realtor.com, just as an example, and he's pasted that right into Property Insights. As you can see, this is very fast, very easy. You can use the listing ID if you have it available. You can even just type in the address and search for the property, whichever you prefer at the time, or whatever is just more convenient at the time. And then see, he's added 2 different Property Insights already in the time that I've been speaking. And you can see that it's nice. It gives you that visual, right? You have the thumbnail image of the houses. You have some basic property information. So at least at a glance, you're like, oh yeah, it's this one. It's the 2-bedroom with the patio and the blah, blah, blah. And then you're going to stay up to date with the listing status from the MLS. So let's say you're keeping an eye on 4 different houses for someone. Then unfortunately, someone beats you to one and they make an offer that buyer just couldn't refuse, and it goes off market, right? You're going to see that in Property Insights. So you don't even have to log into your MLS in order to see that. It's just going to be right there for you in Property Insights saying pending or sold or whatever the status is at that time. And,
yes.
Oh yeah, sorry, Dan.
Yeah, no problem. So the Property Insights, very, very useful for our buyer clients. In Top Producer 8i, there is no equivalent. So let's just take a look at our awesome 8i version here. Just so you guys can do a quick comparison between the 2 versions when we're talking about Property Insights. So if I'm viewing the same contact in Top Producer 8i, you notice it's a little slower just because it's an older platform, right? So I apologize for the delay there, but I don't know if you guys noticed, Top Producer X loaded everything pretty quickly. That's one of the other benefits that, it's not really something that you see, but something that you'll feel, right? It's a lot faster with Top Producer X. With 8i, it came up a little slower, not too bad, but was a little slower. So there is no tab here for Property Insights. And the other thing that we wanted to point out was the 360 contact view. So what we mean by that is in 8i, right, there is all these different tabs, right? That's correct. And you can switch through all these different tabs and see all the different things that you need to do for this particular contact. But with Top Producer X, we've basically boosted that, and you can actually customize your own tabs not your own tabs, but customize the tabs that we have in here and reorganize them. So let's say you deal with a lot of buyers and you want property insights to be at the top of the list of tabs. You can rearrange these tabs. Or if you do a lot of texting, you can rearrange these tabs, right? Let's say you want emails to be the default page, because by default, this shows dashboard shows as the default tab. But let's say you don't want to go to the dashboard tab every time you open a contact. You want to go to your list of email history. Or maybe let's say your task. Let's go to task, right? You want to see all the things that you have to do for that particular client, right? You can set a specific tab here as default. So the next time I open this same contact, right? Let's say I'm just randomly in this tab here. The next time that I open the same contact, it's going to default to the one that you selected, the task tab. So it's super customizable. It's one of the program suggestions that we got all the time with 8i, was being able to at least rearrange these tabs. You can do that now with the new Top Producer X version. And not only can you do that, but it's got a lot more added new features in Top Producer X, like the property insights and the text messages that I'm showing on the screen. So that's what we're talking about here with the 360 contact view and the property insights feature. So let me just take a look at the chat here to see if we have any questions. Alexandra Jans, can I send the customer the property insight? Good question. Unfortunately, not at this time, but definitely something that is good feedback for our product team. This is, at least for now, this is meant for you as an internal tool, so that when all of a sudden some buyer calls you and you're busy with something else, you can just look it up quickly, look up their name, pull up their property insights list, and then you can speak more intelligently about all the properties that they wanted to look at. You know, they don't realize, like, they've sent you multiple messages and multiple calls or emails with all the properties that they wanted to look at. So traditionally, without this list, you would have to look for all those text messages, look for all those emails to make sure you have the proper list of listings that they were interested in. Right, so it's meant more for an internal tool, but that would be cool to see if we can send that out and say, hey, this is the list you gave me, right? Let's work through this. What you can probably do for now as a workaround, this is my technical support kind of kicking in. You can take a screenshot. Nothing stops you from taking a screenshot and sending it to them on an email, right? So although it's not something in the system natively, it's easy enough to just take a quick screenshot, even just that portion of the screen, you can do that and then email it to them. So hopefully that helps. Surely, Matlock, I'm so used to 8i. Is there anywhere to put notes? Yes. So in your Top Producer X, there's two ways you can do it. So you can open up that contact, you can go to notes, and then you can add a note. This contact likes to walk on the seawall in downtown Vancouver. So you do a quick note for that client, easy as that. Another way you can do it is if you're just like, you know, running out of time and you just want to add a quick note to your system, we have actually a dedicated notes tab on the left, and you just click on add note and you just do it like that too. You don't even need to link it to a contact. If you just want a quick reminder for yourself to say, hey, go pick up milk or whatever, right? You can use Top Producer for that. You just go to notes and then you just add a note. I know one way, another scenario that I've run into with other customers is they forgot which contact they added the note for, right? So if you're busy dealing with a lot of clients, you're not going to remember who you added the note for. So that notes tab is actually another good place to say, oh yeah, I did send a note to this person here. This person's name is this guy. And then I sent it, I put that note in October 12th. So that notes tab is a really good central place to see all the notes for all your contacts or all the notes even that are not linked to a contact. So hopefully that helps. Go ahead, Spencer.
Yeah, just to kind of leapfrog off of what Dan was saying about taking a screenshot of the property insight. I kind of like that idea as well. You can definitely do that. And as I mentioned in response to a previous comment, you could even have an email template prepared for that situation where it has some sort of, generic text that says like, hey, so and so, like a merge code to customize the email to the person, right? And then have like, check out this property that I think you like, and then have sort of a blank spot in the email where you would then upload that image into the template, and then have some bullet points underneath it that lists some like of like the, the prime kind of details about it, right? And then let me know if you want to learn more, you want to set up a showing, we can get that going for you right away. Like, so Dan can even show that off here, even just in a simple way. But yeah, if you took a screenshot, you'd be able to then just upload that image into your sort of generic template and use it for whatever you wanted to do.
Yep. So yeah, definitely. Like I said, you can take a screenshot, upload it. Let's just see what I have on my list here. I'm just gonna take a random picture, whatever it is. So yeah, just pretend this picture is that list of property insights. So you can create a template like what Spencer was saying. So you don't have to always have to manually type it up. So that's also actually a really good suggestion there, Spencer. Got other questions here. Shirley, will all my notes from AI transfer over to X? Yes, for the most part, Shirley, all your notes should be in Top Producer X. At least for your contacts, all your notes will be in there. Now for your transactions, if you use, not a lot of people did this, but if you added notes into your like listings and closings in 8i, you can import those listings and closings from your 8i as long as you have it set to close and paid. And that's when it will import those notes as well, including those listings and closings. So yeah, short answer, Shirley, is yes. But if you see any scenario where you're not seeing any notes from your 8i or Top Producer X, just use the chat option here on the bottom right corner of your Top Producer, and you will talk to a real person. They're not robots. These are actual live people. We get that sometimes. It's funny when we see it. These are real people that you can talk to, and they'll be happy to assist you with the specific situation that you're in. So hopefully that helps, Shirley. Heather Crozier, how about sending the property insight to the customer as a market snapshot? Yeah, so like what Spencer was saying, you would want to send a snapshot first. Then if the customer inquires about a property, then you want to add that as a property insight. So for those that kind of are confused with what I just said, so with Top Producer X, we have an add-on called Market Snapshot. If you haven't heard about it, it's basically a market report, like a local trend market report that you can send to your client, and it sends it out automatically every couple of weeks. You can set up that frequency, whether it's a hotter lead or a colder lead. So every week if you want, or even every quarter, every 6 months, or every year for those past clients. So that's a market snapshot. And what Heather was asking here is, can you send the properties in this property insight as a market snapshot? So the short answer is no. They're totally separate things. The property insights is mostly for properties that your buyer actually wants to see. The snapshot is just kind of giving you a report of what's possible out there on the market. Right? What are the listings that are on sale? How much are they selling for? Sort of like an IDX, but more customized to that client. So it's a lot more than an IDX, of course. So that's what a market snapshot is. And like what Spencer was saying, if the client calls you up or messages you and says, hey, I like this one on that market snapshot, then you go to your property insights and add it in there. That way you can keep that list kind of, it's like a short list of properties that they only want to see, right? Because your market snapshot could have hundreds of or tens of listings in there. Go ahead, Spencer.
Actually, Dan, do you have market snapshot on this account of yours?
I might. Let me check this out here. Go marketing.
So just for example, guys, if we go to the sent snapshot and let's say Dan clicks view report, just pretending he's like the recipient for a second.
Yeah.
And then Dan's browsing through here and he comes across a property that he wants to learn more about, right? So he can click on it. And then what he can do from here is a couple different things. If he wants to just kind of casually show his interest, he can click on that little heart symbol. And that's going to notify you within like usually seconds, I find, by email saying, Dan is interested in this property. You should follow up with them and find out more, right? Or from the same screen there, he can send you an email, right? And so you're going to get an email that has the address in there, the MLS ID number on the right side there. So pretending that Dan received this email, he could even just copy that MLS ID number there just because it's nice and easy. Just in like the text field there. Even just in like the the pre-written message, Dan, that it has there. Yeah, or there as well. Yeah. Yeah, just pretending it's coming in from your email, and he could just paste that right into Property Insights as soon as he receives that for the contact. And that way he could just say inquired on, and then he could add a note on there that says, customer or client found this through Market Snapshot, right? So that way you always have a log of that.
Yeah, so that's a good question. Okay, I just want to make sure. So this, I'm not sure if this is in the correct board. No, oh, sorry, I put it in the wrong spot here. Okay, yeah, so yeah, like what Spencer was saying, now it's added in there. Or it's supposed to be, okay, there it is.
Just took a second, yeah.
Yeah, so what's cool about this is because it's connected to your MLS board, it's going to automatically check the status of the MLS, that listing in the MLS. So if this buyer client calls you up like 2 weeks later and expects to look at all 3 properties, you can tell them, hey, looks like one of those expired already, right? This is all done automatically. You don't have to go on the MLS website and do additional research on each one of these. We update these automatically in your Properties Insights list. So that's this is one of my favorite features in Top Producer X, especially from using 8i. We always wanted to offer some sort of feature for our buyer realtors. Now we have something like that here in the Property Insights. So hopefully you guys like that one.
And for Market Snapshot users, I'm pretty sure that in the future, we will probably have it so that your Market Snapshot inquiries automatically go into the Property Insights. So right now it's just a quick copy and paste. Like I said, that MLS ID number is an easy target. You can just grab that and paste that in. But speaking with our product manager, I think a few months ago, he thought that would definitely be the target for the future, is to have those Property Insight inquiries go in there automatically, so that just furthering that automation for you guys, saving you some time.
All right, I'm going to take one more question here, and then I'm going to continue with the presentation. I know there's a lot of messages going on in the chat, so I apologize. You're going to have to just wait for me at the end here. We are at 10:33 right now, so we still have a lot to cover. But one more question, and then we'll keep going. So Shirley Matlock said, I tried the chat box this morning and was 4th in line. I couldn't wait for that. Great feedback. Thank you, Shirley, for letting us know that you were waiting on chat support earlier this morning. I do want to say that, on average, our response time is about 50 seconds. So I know that, that didn't really help you when you needed us, Shirley, but in the long run, it should be pretty quick. We should be pretty responsive in our chat support system. Of course, there will be times where, we can't get to you in that first minute. But on average, you should get a response within the first minute. So I apologize for the wait there, Shirley. Hopefully we can you can try us again, and then we can give you a quicker response. All right, so go ahead, Spencer.
I was just gonna say one thing to note is that it's kind of almost the same as if you were to call a company and have to wait on the phone, right? But honestly, about like 2 or 3 times as fast, because if I call up CRA or I call it my bank, I'm on the phone easily waiting for 10 minutes or something like that, right? And so, considering that the live chat wait times are usually under a minute, usually in most cases, it's pretty decent, I would say.
Yeah, anyone experience calling like a government hotline where you're waiting for hours and then it just disconnects on you? It's like the most infuriating thing.
Yeah, and we have lots of redundancies built into the live chat as well. So, like, let's say you're chatting with a rep, and then for whatever reason that rep gets maybe their computer crashes or something. It does happen, right? Even to us sometimes. And so, in that case, you'll actually be passed over to another rep who would just take over that chat, and they'd see all the history and all that kind of stuff as well. So, yeah, always have redundancies built in to make sure that you're taken care of.
Yeah, so moving on, another couple new things in Top Producer X that are not in 8i are email tracking and being able to text. So I'm going to talk about the email tracking, and then I'll let Spencer handle the texting part of this slide. But email tracking, basically, again, another one of those very popular suggestions that we have from 8i users, being able to see if someone's opened that mass email that you sent out, right? Being able to see all the conversations all in one place. So what's new with Top Producer X is like I said, you can actually see from the slide here, the first two emails at the bottom, you've got these green little icons. That's the indicator that they actually opened that email. And then if it's red, that means they either didn't open it or that email was sent outside of Top Producer X. So what's cool with Top Producer X is you can send out an email from your phone outside of Top Producer X, and that same email you sent outside from your phone, from Outlook, from Gmail, it's also going to show in Top Producer X. It's just going to show it as this, like property on 4th Street. It's going to have a little red icon. So whenever you see that, it's either they haven't opened it yet, or that email wasn't sent from Top Producer X. So we can't track if they opened it or not, right? It's not coming from Top Producer X. That's actually one of the benefits of sending your email through Top Producer X instead of outside of it, is being able to track if it's opened or not. So when you send it through Top Producer X, you'll see if they've opened it with this little green icon. And then on top of being able to track your emails, whether they're opened it or not, you can also see your text history with that client. So with our new feature in Top Producer X, not possible in 8i, unfortunately, you can send text messages out now from within your top producer and see all your other history with that client, all your communication with that client, whether it's their emails, their notes, all the different tasks that you have for them. Your text messages is now in the same area with all your other communication. So it just makes that whole building relationship or that nurturing a lot more easier and a lot more effective for you. So Spencer, I don't know if you want to add anything about the texting feature.
Yeah, so these can kind of work in conjunction with one another, in my opinion. Like, let's say you sent someone an email and you just realize that they're not opening it. It's great information for you, right, as the agent, to say, you know what, maybe unfortunately email is just not the greatest form of communication for this specific person. Maybe they're really bad at checking their emails, right? So at that point, you could just jump right over to your text tab and then send them a text instead, because that's going to go right to their phone and they probably won't miss that one, right? So it's nice to be able to have that all in one spot in your CRM and have that all documented in the same area. And then to answer some questions in the chat actually related to texting, from Alexandra. Alexandra's asking, are people not get confused with two different numbers because my phone number is another one as a texting number? So Alexandra, what we usually say to that is that it's pretty common for people to have like a secondary like business number or even office number or nowadays texting number, right? And so if you kind of just keep it really casual and just say, hey, so and so, this is Alexandra, your realtor. This is my other number. Feel free to add it to your phone, and they'll never think about it ever again, right? They'll just add it to your contact. in their phone, and they're probably not going to care too much about what the number is, right? Especially if you have something like an introduction text message. Yeah, see, just like Dan actually has on the screen right here, if you just tell them right off the bat that it's you, then I don't think they're going to mind too much, right? Yeah.
I've talked to realtors where I told them, yeah, no, I agree with you. Some people get confused, right? And some people won't even answer your text because they don't recognize that number, right? The reality is people don't actually care about your phone number, to be honest with you, right? They just need to know that it's you, right? So they probably have your other number saved under your name already, right? So all they have to do is see that your message says, oh, it's, it's Alexandra, whatever it is, right? Alexandra saying this is her number. I'm just going to save it to my phone. That way, when I get another text message from her, it's not a big deal. It's Alexandra, right? So it's just the initial message. And if you don't want to have to keep manually typing that up for every contact that you text message in your top producer, just create a template like I've done in my test account here. I created my own texting template. And it's just basically hi, and then automatically their first name. This is Dan, your realtor. Please save this number under my name on your phone so you'll know it's me for next time. So it should be as simple as that.
Exactly. Yeah, it's one of those things that in this day and age, I honestly don't think it's that big of a deal. If you just set the expectation from the very beginning, like Dan was showing with that example there, you should be good to go. And just to talk really quick as to why it has to be this way, the short answer is just there's no real legal way to have that number be the same. Two phone carriers, your phone carrier and then the one that we use for the texting service, they just simply can't have the same phone number, right? And so the next best thing is you do get a virtual number in the same area code as your own. And like I said, just introduce yourself, treat it as your business number. Feel free to advertise it on your website, in your email signature, even on your business card if you want to, right? And I think it's something that you can adapt a lot quicker than you think, right? And the nice thing is you get that free unlimited texting through that number. There's no extra charges, nothing. And not only is it going to let you send those standard text messages, but you're also going to be able to use it as part of lead auto response plans as well. So.
Yeah, and just to give you guys another heads up with the texting feature, for our Canadian customers, I generally like to keep things positive here, but there's no way around this. Unfortunately, the texting feature is not available right now for any non-US customers. So this is only available for our US customers. The reason there's a lot of reasons for that, but one of the major ones is just because there's different marketing and privacy and advertising rules in Canada. So we just couldn't get over that legal hump, I guess, is what I'm speculating myself. But it is something that we're a Canadian company, we're Canadian employees. It is something that we internally try to push for, to try to find a way, figure it out, right? But right now we don't have a solution yet. So it is something that we are definitely aware of for our Canadian customers. Hopefully something can be solved for in the future. But for now, this is all, the texting feature is only for our US customers. So sorry about that. All right, the next thing we're going to talk about is the new contacts tab in Top Producer X. It's a lot more smarter and it's a lot more customizable. And I'm gonna share my screen here and talk about the comparison between the two versions as far as the contacts list goes. So in Top Producer 8i, if we go to the contact summary, it's basically just different tabs for your favorites, your contacts in last name initials, etc., or you can do all, right? And that's it. That's all you get for all these tabs. We do get a lot of times suggestions from customers using 8i that they want to create their own tabs, right? They want to be reminded if they haven't talked to somebody in that tab, right? So you create like your own what we call follow-up buckets, right? You have people in, you know, buyers or sellers, or maybe your new clients or your past clients, right? That is one of the things that we wanted to introduce with Top Producer X, is being able to see a lot more personalized tabs in your contacts summary. So with Top Producer X, if I go to the contacts tab, you'll see all these different tabs here that will help you just do that. So we've got all your contacts, and we've got all the different tabs depending on the statuses. And we even have a separate tab for the follow-up coach, so that if you don't know who you should talk to next, we'll suggest 5 people to you. And lastly, we have a new tab called the recent tab. And I'm just going to get Spencer to talk about all the other features here in the contacts tab, because I know that he does this a lot more in the other webinars, and he's really good at explaining it compared to me.
No problem. And so sorry, Dan, I was just checking some stuff in the chat there and responding.
Yeah, no problem.
We were on the
Yeah, we're looking at the smart contact list and the
got it.
follow-up reminders in the contacts. So I just wanted to kind of get it from the expert in showing all the different customization options here.
Yeah, no problem. So yeah, you're right. This is something I deal with almost every single day, and I really advocate for and really coach people how to use this to customize CRM to their business needs, right? Because along the top of the contacts page, similar to 8i, you have these sales pipeline stages, right? So Dan, just really quick, if you go back to 8i,
yeah,
and into the homepage, you guys might be familiar with that sales pipeline view on the homepage, right? Where it says new, engaged, future, active, closed. So just right there. Oops, sorry, I messed up that scribble terribly, but it looked more like a knife. I didn't mean to do that, but yeah, so you have these sales pipeline stages, which is great, right? But in TPX, you can take this a step further, or multiple steps further, by expanding along that quite a bit. So it's good to have your general sales pipeline stages, no doubt about that. But sometimes you need to be more specific, right? Maybe I don't want to see just all my active clients. Maybe I want to focus on just all my active buyers at the moment. Well, what I could do is, as long as I have them tagged with the appropriate contact types, I can then, as Dan is doing there, create a custom tab. So let's say Dan categorizes this contact as not just some sort of generic active client, but more of like a buyer, right? Or maybe, like, for example, like a buyer under contract or something like that, right? And see, Dan's just making a new contact type on the fly there. You can do that too for anything that you need. And so, yeah, let's say for example, we want to focus on all our buyers that are under contract with us. They should be, one of our biggest areas of focus, right? And then, so now that's something that we can use to make our own pipeline tab, right? So Dan's going to do that in the top right corner here. And then see, tab label is just whatever you want it to be called at the top of your screen. I recommend you keep it abbreviated in most cases, just to save yourself some sort of screen real estate, if you will. And then you tell it which contact type or types to be in this list. And then that's how you create your own custom tab. See, so just like that, Dan now has a brand new active buyers tab. So it's narrowing it down much, much further than just active, right? It's basing it off that buyer under contract type in this example. And then let's say Dan wanted to make sure that he services all his active buyers as attentively as possible. You could even then add like a follow-up reminder as sort of a blanketed reminder. So let's say he maybe like every 3 days, like, is an absolute limit, right? Just to check in, make sure that you've done everything you need to for them. And what's going to happen here is, if any contacts in this list are on the cusp of that 3-day limit that Dan has set to kind of hold himself accountable to, it's then going to highlight them in yellow, and it's going to say follow up. And then if they pass that threshold, it's going to highlight them in red, and it's going to say overdue, as you can see here. And so it's a nice thing, because you could legitimately kind of rely on this to kind of have your back, or you could even just say, oh, you know what? John and Jane are actually okay. I just spoke with them the other day. I just maybe forgot to add it into my CRM that I did that, right? So whichever way you're kind of using it or a combination of both, it's a great little extra tool there. So see now that Dan's updated their contact status, they should be in the clear again. They're not going to be highlighted in red anymore. And you can do this for any tab. You can do this for new, engaged, future, active, closed. You can do this for any of your custom tabs. So follow-up reminders, just yet another, as I like to say, layer of like defense, if you will, against forgetting to follow up with someone, or even just keeping good records in your CRM. See, Dan's just walking through a wrap-up process here, saying he spoke with this person, and then now he knows that they're, like I said, in the clear again. They're no longer going to be in that red zone for the follow-up reminder. But you can use custom tabs for all sorts of things. Let's say you want a quick list of all your vendors or something, right? You could very well do that. So that way you have an upcoming transaction. You say, oh, you know what? I really need like a home inspector, like ASAP, right? You could have your list of vendors where you just click on it, you pull up, your home inspectors, narrowed it down and say, you know what? I've worked with Greg or whoever like a couple times. He's always very thorough. He's always very attentive, that kind of thing. I want to see if Greg's available, right? So lots of different examples. Or maybe you want to focus on your prime leads, people that you've tagged with, A or B or whatever, or hot leads or that kind of thing. You can even make a custom tab for that. So it's the ball is really all in your court. You can kind of use this however you want and really customize your CRM and make it your own.
Yeah, so yeah, a lot of our customers really have been asking for a lot more customization and personalization options, because Top Producer X has been built on a more modern and newer platform. Our product team can implement all of these features a lot more quickly, and they don't have to go through a lot of more complex steps to do it compared to 8i. So I know that there's some suggestions that we get with Top Producer X where it seems like it's, or even 8i, where it seemed like it was a no-brainer, like email tracking in 8i. Other CRMs might have done it, right? Unfortunately, with 8i, we couldn't do it because there was a lot more in the background that we had to consider. There was a lot more factors that we had to consider, and we were limited in a lot of the technology that 8i was using because it was built in the 90s. With the new Top Producer X, any suggestion that you guys have, as far as the technology goes, it's a lot more feasible, right? Not going to guarantee it's going to be in there every time you suggest something, but because it's newer, we can do a lot more. There's more possibilities with Top Producer X. I can see the chat going up there a little bit. So I'm going to get back to that chat, I promise. Let's just get over a couple more slides here and we'll do some questions.
Sounds good, Dan. We got one that I told Jessica that we just get you to demonstrate later.
Yeah.
So thanks for waiting, Jessica. She just had some questions about sorting contacts and tasks and stuff like that. So we'll definitely show you how that's done in just a little bit here. Thanks for your patience.
Sure, sounds good. Yeah, I appreciate your patience there. All right, so we talked about the smart contact list and being able to set up the follow-up reminders. The next thing we want to talk about is the listings and closings, right? It's obviously super important that you manage all the checklists, all the to-dos for that transaction to make sure you make that commission, right? Make sure you don't miss any important deadlines, inspections, et cetera, et cetera. With Top Producer X, there's a lot more options as far as key dates in that transaction compared to 8i. Compared to 8i, it only had like listing date, closing date, maybe expiration date, and I forgot the other one, but I think there's like 4 only in there. With Top Producer X, there's a lot more. So as you can see here in the screenshot, we've got agreement date, closing date, expiration date, financial commitment date, offer expiration date, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot more options. And what we mean about dynamic workflows is if you set up a task, for example, hand over the keys to the new owner, the buyer, right? Here in Vancouver, usually that's called the possession date. And the possession date is usually 1 day after your closing date. At least this is what my realtor told me. The closing date, you can't get the keys yet because the money, the funds has to complete the transfer to the the bank or the lawyer or whatever. They have to complete that, and that takes that whole day to confirm that it's finished. So they're not going to give you the keys right away because they usually run out of time, right? So that's why they set the possession date the next day after. That's when you get the keys. So what if the closing date changes, right? For whatever reason, inspector said, hey, you need to do this first before, or the appraiser said, it's not worth that much, so you need to do another offer, right? Then you have to change the closing date. What's really cool with Top Producer X is if you change one of these dates, any task that is dependent on those closing dates will automatically update, or at least it give the option to automatically update. So if I have the closing date today, for example, August 24, by the way, today's my sister's birthday. Shout out to my sister, happy birthday. But the possession date would be 8/25 the next day. If the closing date changed to Friday, for example, August 26, possession date is obviously now August 27. That task that you have set for yourself to hand over the keys, instead of being due on August 25, it's now going to set it to August 27. So it does that with just a button to confirm that, yes, you want to automatically adjust the due dates. And it'll do that for all the tasks that you have in your system. It's just a one click button. It'll update all the tasks that are dependent on your key dates. So that's one really cool thing with Top Producer X that is not available in 8i, is all these other key dates in that transaction. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Spencer, before I move on.
Yeah, sure. I really like this feature myself because, it just makes sense. You can set the key dates to the best of your knowledge or whatever you're aware of so far, into the transaction. And then what'll happen is if there's tasks that are dependent on those key dates, they're not even going to be in the picture until they need to be. So for example, if you have that task that's due 3 days before closing date, but you don't have the closing date set yet, it's simply just going to say future. It's not going to be there because it's not needed yet, right? And then as soon as you set that closing date, then that task is now something that gets aligned perfectly 3 days before whatever the closing date is. So what this means is you could have your transaction checklists or task plans that you just use over and over again for every single transaction that you have, and it's just going to automatically adapt to that transaction. Yeah, and as Dan said, if the date changes, not a problem. You don't have to go and hunt down that task and try to reschedule it. You just simply change the key date in the transaction, and all those tasks are going to shift along with the new key date. So it just makes it really easy for you. You don't even really have to think about the dates that much. You just say, oh, it's due X amount of days before, on, or after whatever this key date is or is going to be.
So I know I was going to wait for the end for questions, but I just see a couple of questions pop up from Jessica Harless and Steve Marsachi about this. This is not a replacement for action plans. It's to enhance the action plans as well that you had in 8i. So in Top Producer X, we don't call it action plans anymore. We call them task plans, but it's the same thing. So you can set up all sorts of task plans, whether that's contact task plans, transaction task plans, et cetera, et cetera. It's all still in Top Producer X. You're not losing any functionality when it comes to action plans. What this just means with these additional key dates is when you're setting the due date for those individual tasks in your action plan, there's a lot more options now. Instead of just the listing date or just the closing date, you can set it to be dependent on the offer date or the possession date or whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly. It's basically taking what 8i allowed you to do and just expanding upon it. So you're not losing functionality, you're just gaining additional functionality.
Yeah, so we got about under a minute here for the hour is up. So I apologize. We do have just a couple more slides to go through, and then we'll take some final questions. If you have to go, thank you so much. I apologize again that we ran out of time, but this is recorded, so you can come back to it later. It'll be on our YouTube channel. Spencer, can you just repost that YouTube channel link for those people that have to go right now?
Sure.
But yeah, the next thing I want to talk about that's improved in Top Producer X compared to 8i is email deliverability and the contact and calendar sync. What we mean by that, as far as the email deliverability goes, is because of the way the emails are sent through Top Producer X, your emails are more likely to go into the inbox and less likely go into the spam or junk folder of that contact that you're sending. The difference between the two platforms when it sends out an email is with Top Producer X, you're going to connect it to your email account, whether that's a Gmail account or an Exchange account, an iCloud account, an Outlook account, whatever you have, or Yahoo account, whatever you have. So those emails aren't actually being sent through our servers here in Top Producer in the background. When you send out that email through Top Producer X and you type it out through Top Producer X, the actual delivering of that email in the background is being done through your actual email account. So that's, for example, your Gmail account. When you send out that email from Top Producer X, it will, because it's sending it from your external email account, you can actually see that email outside of your Top Producer. So even if, let's say you had to leave Top Producer, right? You still have a copy of all the emails you've sent out from Top Producer. It'll be in your sent items folder in whatever email account that you connected it with. Because it's sending it directly from that email account, the email providers that are receiving these emails, they're gonna see that it's coming from the original source, which is your Yahoo account, for example, your Gmail account. It's not gonna look like it's coming from a third-party software. With Top Producer 8i, the way it was sending out those emails, even if you added in your Gmail account or your Yahoo account or your iCloud email, when you send out that email from 8i, it wasn't actually sending it through your email account. What it does is it puts it into a central queue with all of our Top Producer 8i users into a central email server that Top Producer owns and manages. And that's how it sends out those emails. So it's gonna, when the email is received by that email provider, it's gonna see that the reply address says Gmail, but it doesn't match where the source actually is being sent from. It's gonna look like it's coming from Top Producer. And that's what we call email masking or email spoofing. And a lot more email providers are becoming more strict when it sees these types of emails, when it's receiving these types of emails, and they're more likely to go into the junk or spam folder. So I know that was a lot of technical information there, but to simplify things, in Top Producer X, it's just gonna be more likely to go into the inbox and less likely go into the spam folder. The other thing we wanted to talk about is the contact and calendar sync. So not only can you sync with your Gmail, with your Outlook, but you can now sync it with your iCloud account. So I know there's a lot of you out there that uses an iPhone. You can set it so that when you add a new phone or add a new person in your phone, your iPhone, if you have the contact sync set up with Top Producer X, that person you added on your iPhone will automatically sync into your Top Producer, and vice versa. Once you add it into Top Producer X, there's just a little button that you have to do on the other side to say, hey, send it to my phone, because sometimes you import contacts and you don't want to send like thousands of contacts into your phone that you don't need on your phone. So you can do both ways, but if the easiest way to do it is when you add it on your phone, you don't have to worry about any extra steps. You just add it on your phone, it'll sync it into your Top Producer. Same thing with appointments. If you add an appointment, if you reschedule it, if you delete it, that's all going to sync automatically with your phone and Top Producer. So it's just a lot more flexible and a lot more options when it comes to contact and calendar sync compared to the 8i version of it. And if you were using the 8i version of the sync, you probably already know now that unfortunately it doesn't work anymore. More and more companies are being more strict with integration with other companies. And unfortunately, 8i didn't make the cut as far as the security requirements, the technology requirements that was needed with Google, for example. 8i just couldn't handle that requirement. So that's why we had to discontinue the sync in 8i. But it is working in Top Producer X, and it's got a lot more automation with it. All right. Now, next thing we want to talk about are things that are not in Top Producer X that we know are super important to you guys, like being able to print labels. We get label calls all the time. During the holidays, you want to print labels, right? So there are some features that are in 8i that are not in Top Producer X currently, at least not yet, but we did build in a new feedback section in Top Producer X that will allow you guys to talk directly to our product team and say, hey, this is what I want. And not only can you do that, you can see other people's suggestions. So if you like someone's suggestion and it's the same thing that you're asking for, you can just hit a little thumbs up button so you can add your name to that suggestion. Spencer, I don't know if you want to walk us through an example of a feedback here. I'm sure you're getting some in the chat that we can go through together.
Yeah, absolutely. So we had a really good idea come up, inspired by Alexandra here. So Alexandra Johns, thank you very much. She was talking about seeing email history for transaction parties. So I told her in the chat that while you can see individual email history, like for example, if you went to a transaction record, Dan, and then you had your parties listed there, it's fairly easy enough just to go from there and then click on one of the transaction parties, see their email history, and then go to their transactions tab and bounce back to the transaction. Right? Because you'd be able to go to email, see their history, and then go back to transactions. But that being said, Alexander was saying that she has an area, like a folder in her Outlook, where she keeps all the conversations from all transaction parties for that specific transaction. And so that got me thinking that would be a really good suggestion for Pendo, to have a consolidated email history for transaction records. What do you think, Deb?
Yeah, no, like a tab here for email history.
Yeah.
Just like we have a tab here for documents, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe a tab for email history for that transaction where it'll just list all the emails for all the different parties.
I think that's a great idea. She said that would make life a lot easier.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. Thank you for that one. So like Spencer was saying, that's one of the things that we can put into our feedback section. And our feedback section is powered by this third-party company that we partnered up with called Pendo. So this is the portal that you'd see. And as you can see here in my own, I've suggested a few things to our product team as well, like being able to do advanced searches, maybe a mobile app for Top Producer X. And you can see what status they are with their product team. So they're actually building a mobile version of Top Producer X that you guys can use. So hopefully that will be ready in the next couple of months or so. But this is where you can track all your suggestions. And if you see other suggestions by others that you like, you can hit a little thumbs up button, right? And it'll add it to your list. The more and more people thumbs up a particular suggestion, the more attention it's going to get from our product team. It's not going to guarantee that they're going to implement it, but at least our product team will know what people are actually wanting, and comparing with other people, which one should be prioritized first, right? So definitely take advantage of that feedback button, especially you guys are all 8i users. You guys are the perfect people that should tell us what we're doing wrong and what we need to do better, right? So that feedback button is your friend. All right, going back to our last couple of slides here. Some FAQs, frequently asked questions. Is there a cost to upgrade to X? No, there isn't. It's the same subscription price that you're paying for both systems. We're not making you pay extra. Do I have to stop using 8i? No, you don't. Especially with if there's no feature, if that same feature is not in Top Producer X, like printing labels, you can go ahead and keep using your 8i to print those labels. You can go ahead and use a sales pipeline section the way you're used to doing it in 8i, right? The reason for this, we're not getting rid of 8i, is because everyone has their own different situation, and we want to try to make this transition into the new version as seamless as possible at a pace that you're more comfortable with, right? So I don't know how long that lasts, but there's no current plans right now to get rid of Top Producer 8i. So we're not trying to force anyone out of 8i. We are not discontinuing 8i. I want to emphasize that because some people mishear it sometimes. We are not getting rid of 8i. It's here to stay, at least for the foreseeable future. But you don't want to get left behind at the same time, right? It is a competitive advantage to use all those new features in Top Producer X. You're not the only one in your area that's using Top Producer. So make sure you're doing your best to take advantage of all those new features in Top Producer X. What's not in Top Producer X that's not in 8i? Good question. While we don't have a comprehensive list, there's things like the income and expense tracker, the buyer net sheet, the seller net sheet, the labels, the label templates, the envelope templates, so things like that. So if you have a particular feature that you use in 8i and you don't know if it's in Top Producer X, it's really easy to find out. All you have to do is go into your Top Producer, hit the chat button and tell them, hey, I use this in 8i, is this in X? And they'll give you the answer right away, right? While we don't have a list, at least you'll get a direct answer from us whenever you're looking that up in your Top Producer. All right, just a couple of useful links here before we go through final questions and wrap up. If you want to do your own like self-serve learning, our topproducer.com campus website is a really useful tool. And if you need help logging in, for example, you can go to that campus website and hit the chat button if you need help from us. If you don't need the immediate response and you can wait, for example, you just need a copy of your invoice, right? You can just send a quick email to support@topproducer.com, and our responses through email is usually 1 to 2 business days. And if you do like this webinar, let us know in the chat that this is actually useful, or can we do better? But if you do like these webinars, you can sign up for more, and they're all free. So if you go on our campus website, there's a link at the top here where it says webinar schedule. And for example, today's August 24. We've got another really cool webinar tomorrow, hosted by Spencer, and I'll probably be there too, where we're gonna talk about a bit more coaching as far as using your Top Producer X. So now that you're starting to make that transition from 8i to Top Producer X, we're gonna talk a lot more about the features in Top Producer X that we kind of just dabbled in a little bit today, right? So that's gonna be a good one tomorrow at about the same time, 10 o'clock a.m. Pacific. So register for that one if you haven't already. And then we got a lot more webinars coming up. We even have one about farming. If you do any farm marketing, like postcards, just sold postcards, stuff like that. Next week on Wednesday, we have a webinar about smarter farming. So instead of paying for a bunch of addresses in a zip code that, maybe like 80% of them are not ready to list yet, wouldn't it be nice to just target the top 20% that are more likely to list in that year and only spend the farming on that 20%? So we're going to be talking about that next week to get a better return on your investment if you do farm marketing. So yeah, that is it for our show today. I'm going to go through some final questions. Really appreciate your guys' patience here. Spencer, do you have any questions, or first, before we go through questions, do you have anything you want to add so far?
I think I did like 2 minutes ago and I forgot.
No worries. But yeah, let's go through some questions and answers here. What do we got?
Let me just scroll up here. So I know from a little bit back, we had someone wondering about sorting contacts and tasks. Let me just go back and try to find it there. Sorry, it should just be a few more seconds. Oh yeah, so it's from Jessica Harles. And Jessica, thanks again for waiting. So Jessica was wondering about sorting lists of contacts by name, as well as tasks by task name and date. So maybe if we start with contacts, we can see what we can do there.
Yeah, so if you're in your contacts list, you'll see all these different tabs on your table of your contacts. Any column here that has this little arrow, it lets you sort by that column. So if you want to sort by name, just click on that little arrow and it'll sort it ascending or descending. If you want to know, for example, when's the last time you did something with them, right? You can change it to, last action or the oldest ones, right? So you can resort it. So these are our sorting options in the contacts list. But I'm sure that in the future, we're going to add a lot more options here for sorting and filtering. That's one of the things that that we're asking for internally too, on your guys' behalf, is being able to filter this list a lot more customizable. Like in my test account, I only have 2 contacts in here. These are all fake contacts. They're not real. So YouTube, this is not copyright infringement or I'm not violating anyone's privacy. But yeah, that's why I only have 2 in here, because I don't want to, get hit with a copyright infringement or a violation or anything like that. But yeah, these are all the sorting and filter options in here. In the future, I am positive that we're going to have a lot more sorting and filter options. The next question I saw on this list, Alexandra Jans, does the task finally show up in my phone calendar? Good question, Alexandra. So on your phone calendar, it's usually just usually reminds you of your appointments. So it doesn't have like call appointments or anything like that, at least from what I've seen. So no, it will not sync anything other than appointments with your phone calendar. So this is why we are pushing our product team to make Top Producer X mobile friendly. So it's like a mobile app, so you don't have to you don't have to miss anything. You just open up Top Producer on your phone. You'll see all the different tasks that you have to do, right? The goal is to get you guys to use Top Producer X like on a daily basis, on a minute by minute basis. Like it's like your central hub that you have to do, that you have to open to see what you need to do next, right? So those calendar sync and contact sync, those are just more for convenience factor, so that when you call, it's easy to call someone. But when it comes to your real estate task, that's where you're going to need to open Top Producer to see all of that.
Yeah, and that's going to become even easier soon. We're still, I know we're all waiting for the big mobile update for Top Producer X, because at that point you could just open Top Producer X on your phone, and then check your calendar, and then you would see, not only your synchronized stuff from your Google or Outlook or whatever, but also all your top producer specific tasks. Because as Dan was saying, sometimes just a follow-up call or a to-do, so really meant to be managed through Top Producer as much as possible. But as I mentioned in a previous comment, obviously when you guys are on the run and you're busy, sometimes all you need is that quick, calendar notification from your Google account or whatever. And that's kind of what that is really good for right now. But also, as Dan mentioned, we are looking to get that expanded and have more things synchronized. But trust me, you probably wouldn't want everything synchronized. It's gonna clutter up your Google Calendar with every, like, or I should say, can you imagine your Google Calendar being cluttered with every single task from every single task plan and drip campaign and everything you've ever applied in your whole top producer? You probably break your Google Calendar basically. So
Yeah,
just
and
yeah,
like if you're part of a team account and you're the primary user, you'll see everyone's task, right? So
yeah,
um,
exactly.
not to put it down, but there's a lot of really useful scenarios why you would want to see all your tasks. But that's why we want to make sure Top Producer X mobile is available for you guys really soon. So you guys
Yeah,
will love it, I'm sure.
that alone will solve so many issues. Mhm.
Yeah. So just going back to some of the comments about the action plans. So like Shirley Matlock said, I'm really a big user of action plans in 8i. Jessica Harlan saying TP's transaction plans is the main reason we have stayed with Top Producer for years. That's awesome. Steve Marsacci regarding key dates, is that a substitute for action plans? I just kind of want to show you guys what the action plans look like in the new Top Producer X. So if you go to the left where it says marketing, and along the top here, you'll see all the different tabs. Click on the tab that says task plans manager. So this is like the plans manager in 8i. So in 8i, you go under calendar and you go to plans manager. So this whole plans manager page in 8i, it's now gonna look like this in Top Producer X. Unfortunately, we weren't able to move your old action plans in 8i and your old templates in 8i into Top Producer X. So you will have to recreate them in Top Producer X, all the ones that you use. But I would say, even though it's it's inconvenient to have to do that again, think of it as an opportunity, right? It's 2022. It's time for you to probably review all those marketing content. Some of them probably need a refresh, right? The target audience right now for most people is the millennials. So the template that you had before for the Gen X might not be as attractive or as engaging to millennials, or even now the Gen Z generation, right? All the TikTokers out there. So you're going to want to take this opportunity to review those old 8i action plans and recreate them in the Top Producer X Task Plans Manager. And just to kind of give you guys a bit of a preview of what it looks like, and this is something that Spencer will go over again tomorrow as far as the coaching goes in Top Producer X. This is what the task plans in Top Producer X looks like. So if we open up this one, for example, this is an automated lead response. It says on day 0, I'm going to email and text them right away. But then I can also set up a follow-up email 50 minutes later, 50 minutes after I sent out an email. So this new automated lead response is really good, because let's say you want to time it so that next text message on the same day that you send out is sent 8 hours, because maybe most of your clients or most of your leads you're noticing are people that are still at work. So whenever you try to call them or text them right away, they don't answer. And then when you do get to talk to them, they say, oh yeah, sorry, I was at work, right? So maybe you can time some of your messages to automatically send out like 6 hours later or 8 hours later, where there's a better chance that they'll see it and respond to it right away. And what's cool about these automated lead responses, once they reply, it deletes the rest and it won't bother them anymore. It stops the whole lead response plan because it's achieved its goal of getting that initial response from them. And now you can work your magic and, sell them and use your mad skills to convince them to work with you as their realtor. So yeah, just something to think about with as far as action plans from 8i into Top Producer X. It's a lot There's a lot of new cool things that we're doing with action plans in Top Producer X. Do you want to take the next question, Spencer?
Sure, but just to add something on, just a reminder, guys. When I responded to a question about 8i action plans, maybe about 20 minutes ago or so, and just for anyone that may have not seen it in the chat there, just keep in mind that there are actually some built-in ones still. So for example, if you're looking for that listing checklist or that buyer under contract checklist, it's still there in X, and it's practically identical to the one in 8i. It's not going to be available just right off the bat, as you see Dan doing here. You kind of have to go shopping per se, for free, obviously, and go and pick and choose the template you want. And then it's that customize plan button. Unfortunately, it's a little bit misleading with the name, but customize plan is what lets you either use that plan as is or customize it to your liking. But yeah, it's that customized plan that allows you to kind of tell the CRM, okay, I want to start using this one in some sort of way. So just make sure you kind of go, like I said, shopping for it first, choose it, customize it, and then save. And then after you save it, it's now available for you to use in any way that you want. And so that's what's going to get that, make those plans available to you out of the box even. And yeah, you can compare the transaction template side by side with the one in 8i. As far as I remember, it's pretty much identical.
Yeah. So Shirley, Matlock, are the same 8i action plans transferred over to X? So I think we answered that. The short answer is no. So you want to recreate them and refresh them in Top Producer X. Alexandra Jans, can we add other parties involved in the transaction without having them in our database? And can we see all conversations, email, text from all parties in the transaction part on one view? Did we answer this one already, Spencer?
Yeah. So my answer in the chat was just that you do have to add them as a contact to your database first. If they're not someone that you need for any other purpose in your database other than simply listing them as a transaction party, just even feel free to set them to something like non-client or inactive, just so they're kind of out of the way of your the bulk of your database and your sales pipeline, right? So yeah, honestly, good Pendo suggestion would be to have that add contact button right there, right, Dan?
Yeah, exactly.
Because you can do that when you are creating a brand new transaction record. Our development team heard that feedback, and they added that add a new contact button when you're going through that create a transaction flow. But just for whatever reason, it hasn't been added there yet. So I think it can only make things better. So I think that's something we could definitely kind of escalate to them and bring to their attention.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, I know that like sometimes you want to add like the renter in that transaction or for whatever reason, so you can, remind yourself that, oh, there's a renter on this.
Yeah, so as Alexander just said in the chat, the point is you need to go out the transaction and add the person and come back to the transaction. This is time consuming. And I'll be honest, I have heard that feedback a pretty decent amount of times before. So I would say that's a pretty good indication that that's something that needs some attention, right? So, and like I said, I know it's possible. We have that exact flow when you're creating a brand new transaction record in the first place. So yeah, I don't see why we couldn't get that added. That's something we'll pass along to our development team.
Yeah, and a little tip too. Let's say you need to do that and add a contact outside of that transaction. You don't have to leave that transaction. What I mean by that is just right click on the contact screen, open it in a new tab. You're still in this transaction, so you don't lose your work. Just switch over to that tab, add them quickly, right? And then you can go back and add them into that transaction. Switch to the other tab, go back to the parties and add them in.
Actually, that's a really good point, Dan. I'll be honest, I didn't think about that.
See, it's easy, right? So now I can add them in.
That's actually a good point. It's something I often forget, and some customers like you guys might not know, is that if you really want to, you can actually have multiple tabs of Top Producer X open, just like you can for Top Producer 8i. And in fact, our development team, they kind of intended for it to be used like this occasionally. And that's evident by the fact that see the browser tabs at the top of Dan's browser here. They're actually named after the different transaction record name and the contact names. I remember our development team specifically updated it to do that. So they kind of have intended it to be able to be flexibly used like this, where you could use it in one tab if you want to, or you can definitely feel free to open up multiple tabs to get the job done, just as 8i used to, do things. So thanks for reminding even me about that, Dan. Yeah.
No worries. That's my technical support again kicking in.
Yeah.
So even if there is not a feature to do that in your top producer X, and that's really important to you, that's why I always encourage people to talk to the chat person, because we might have an idea on how to work around it, right? We might have a solution for it, just like what I showed you guys.
Yeah, if there's something in X that's not the same in 8i, or something in 8i that's not in X per se, it might just be called something different. It might just be handled a different way. And so always worth reaching out to our chat first and asking, and they could probably just get that kind of cleared up for you. But Dan, just really quick, Alexander was asking if you'd be able to show that flow again, where you opened up a new tab from your contacts page and then just added a contact.
Yeah, sure. So I log into my top producer and I need to deal with this transaction, right? So I go into this transaction and I have a piece of paper that says, oh, they have a renter, right? They have 3 renters. So I've already have 2 in there, but I need to add a 3rd one. So if I go to add party, I notice, hey, this person's not in here, right? Top producer is saying, sorry, we couldn't find a match, right? So what I can do is not leave this transaction record that I'm in, go to my contact section, right click on my contact section, and my browser will give me a bunch of options. Open it in a new tab. So once I click on that, watch what happens. It's going to open up a tab at the top. Sometimes it'll do it in the background, so you just have to pay attention to the top of your browser with all your different browser tabs. And now a new browser tab of top producer X is open, and you can just add them in.
You can also middle click on your mouse, like if you have the scroll wheel button like I do here. If you middle click on that contacts page or whatever, it's also going to open another browser tab for you.
Yeah, so now that I've added this new contact in, that's part of that transaction, I can go back to the original tab where my transaction was that I was working on, go to the parties tab. It's still going to be in that page because that was the last page you were on. And now you can retry again now that they're in there. And pick the role.
Yeah, because that contact information kind of updates in the background. So it's just gonna, be now available for Dan to search for.
So now I've got Spencer in there into this transaction. So hopefully that was not too bad of a flow.
Yeah, so if you want to have some specific contact records open and you don't want to lose track of them, but you need to go away and do something else, that's also a good option. You could have like 3-4 different contacts open, and then jump away in a different tab to go check your calendar really quick, or something like that. You can also use the forward and back buttons in your web browser, which works pretty well to go back and forward to exactly where you were before. Yeah.
Cool. Let's see what's the next question here. Appreciate you guys hanging in there. We still got 7 attendees. That's awesome. We're 30 minutes over time. I'm going to go over a few more questions here and then we'll wrap it up. Okay. So ask your final questions now. Let's see here.
Oh, and Dan?
Yeah, go ahead.
Did we get a chance to show sorting tasks in the
sorting tasks? Oh no, thank you for reminding me. So if we go to the task tab, it'll show you your task for today, but let's just do a custom date range here.
Yeah, and so guys, when you go to your task tab on the left of TPX, that's sort of like your global task area. So for 8i users, you would best know the equivalent as the activity summary under the calendar option in 8i. And then when you come here, you land on the Today tab by default, because that's usually what you want to see first, I think, for most people. You can click on the Overdue tab to see anything that was due before today, so you can catch up on that. Tomorrow, next 7 days, you can set the custom date range to whatever you want as well. And then, but no matter which of these tabs you're on, you can sort by the task type if you just want to narrow it down to just like see all your appointments first or see all your phone calls first. You can sort by task status. And the cool thing is that whatever sorting options you have selected here, you could then even print this out if you need to do. So if you needed to do sort of a report, you could use that print option in the top right corner. So let's say you wanted to see, like, let's say, for example, you're a team leader, right? And you wanted to do a report on all the completed follow-ups for your agents to make sure that, they were doing their due diligence and that kind of thing. You could set the task status to complete only. You could narrow it down to whatever task type you wanted it within a certain date range. And then once that's displayed, you could print exactly that out. So feel free to use that for whatever you need. So that's essentially how you do like a task report as well. Jessica was saying, I want to sort on task description. So Jessica, do you mean literally the task description itself, or just the task name? Because if you click on this for a sec, and then edit task, I think there's technically like a task description. If you wanted to, describe the task to yourself a little bit more, for memory's sake, if you will. And then there's the task title, which is kind of like the actual name. I'm guessing you may have meant the task title. Task title, okay, got it. So there's nothing like that right now to sort alphabetically. It's one of those things that, I mean, I don't see why not. Like, I don't see why our development team couldn't implement something like that. So that's something we can definitely pass along to them. But in the meantime, let's say you have a bunch of call tasks you want to focus on. They probably all start with the word call or something in most cases, right? You could even use just the sort by task type. I think that might be better than nothing in most cases. Because you can focus just on phone calls. You can focus just on appointments first, just on to-dos, or even just on transaction specific tasks if you need to. But yeah, still, I don't see why not. We can definitely pass that along anyway.
Or what you can do too is, like, if you know like a keyword of one of those titles of the task on at least on Chrome, what I do is I hit Control F on my keyboard. So Control and then the letter F for find. Control F and just type in whatever keyword a lot of those tasks are, right? And you can just scroll through using your browser. So if it's just you want to see all the tasks that have the word call in it, you can do that keyword and then scroll through all of the ones that finds it.
Yeah, that's a great idea as well too. I've actually used that for a variety of different things as well, and it comes in handy because even just the fact that it highlights it in like orange makes it a lot easier to see. So that's a good tip as well, as that Control F. I'll put that in the chat here.
See, it even scrolls through like what I'm doing right now. I'm looking for all my check tasks, and it's just scrolling through them on my screen. So I know it's not like the easiest, but at least you have a solution for that.
Jessica was saying, I want my birthday list and I want my anniversary list. So that's what the dedicated important dates section would be for up here. You'd be able to see all the birthdays, all the anniversaries that are entered in the important dates feature. And it's just going to show you them in sort of like chronological order, right? So, or if that's the right word I'm looking for, but basically what's coming up next. So if you want to say, for example, I want to focus on everything coming up for September, you could then just focus on all those September ones, get ready to do whatever you needed to do for them. And then, take action if necessary, or that kind of thing. Mary was saying in the chat, thank you both. This has been informative, even when it wasn't the answer I wanted. Got it. Well, I appreciate that
you.
regardless, Mary. Happy that we could give you some good information. We're going to keep doing our best to make things as easy as possible for you guys to transition, at least from, a customer care, customer success perspective. We'll always do our best to help educate, help answer questions, and help find workarounds and all that kind of stuff. And also relay as much feedback as possible to our development team, right? I wish Dan and I were the ones that were in there digging into code and making things happen, but that's a little outside our pay grade. So we can just do do the best start we can to make sure that we relate to you guys as much as possible. We understand where you're coming from, and then that we get that feedback over to the appropriate teams. We have some other comments here. Alexander says, how do you know our wedding day?
Oh, that's funny, Alexandra. That's my wedding day too. Me and my wife got married on 11/11/11. Wow, that's the first time I've seen someone with the same wedding as me.
That's a pretty funny coincidence, actually.
Yeah, 11's our favorite number, even before we met.
Yeah. Funny coincidence. Mary was saying, one last question I just thought of. In 8i, I print client reports. Where do I find those in X? So client reports, I'm trying to remember back to the 8i stuff. I guess that's for transactions. Is that right, Dan?
No, I think what you're talking about is, let's say, contact summary. And you want to print out a report, like a short.
Oh, got it. Okay.
This or whatever.
It's been a little while since I've done that, to be honest. So
yeah, so it creates like a PDF. It's really cool, right? And you got all the PDFs that you can create from. So there's all these different options as far as PDF reports. So no, just to be blunt, no, unfortunately, there isn't any contact reports available, at least not yet. I'm sure that it'll come in the future. I know we keep saying this, it'll probably come in the future, there is a lot of competing priorities. The biggest one is the mobile one. So that's kind of what our product team is super focused on, is because it's just gonna help a lot of people all at the same time. So that's probably the priority right now. But as we go along, right, just remind yourself, 8i, it's over 20 years old or so, right? So all these features that you guys are using in 8i, we didn't just add them all in the first year. We added them year by year, right, as we got along. So I'm sure Top Producer X will catch up eventually, where most of the things that you do in 8i will be in Top Producer X and more, obviously. So sorry about that, not in there yet, but likely in the future. No guarantees though. Spencer, go ahead.
Yeah, just to add on to that really quick, this might be even, I don't know yet, but this might be a situation kind of as we talked about earlier, where we might just need to do a little bit of discovery for you, with you, I should say, and just find out what is the end result that you'd like to get, because even though there's not those same reports per se, depending on what you'd like to accomplish, Mary, we might actually have some other kind of way to do that, or some sort of workaround or something in X. So just depends. That's why when I get asked that kind of question personally, when I'm talking to a customer one-on-one, I try to focus on the end result that they want, and I'll say, you know what, actually we can do that, or maybe in a slightly different way than you're used to. But yeah, always good to just find out what the end result is, and then maybe we actually have a way to handle that. So like I said, I don't know yet, Mary, but feel free to let us know, or reach out through the live chat and we can look into that with you.
All right, so I think this is a good time now. Let's quit while we're ahead. Let's kind of wrap up and let you guys get on with your day. We're about 45 minutes over now. You guys are awesome. You guys are troopers for staying this long, almost 2 hours in the same webinar. Very attentive. But if you do want like a setup call, like you want a one-on-one setup call, I know you guys aren't new users, but if you guys just want to set it up like if you were a brand new customer, we do have some onboarding options. So if I just go to this page here, so for example, we've got like they are paid. So you might have to consider if it's worth it or not for you. But the things that we could help you do, for example, is help you with setting up all your settings in your Top Producer X, right? If you don't want to have to go through that whole thing with yourself, we can help you do that. We can help you integrate if you have 5Street, for example, you're texting. So we can create that setup like a one-on-one welcome call with you if you think that's worth it at the $149 one-time fee. The other option is the concierge fee at $299. I know it's a little expensive, but things that you can do with that is not only you get that one call, but you got 2 additional follow-up calls just to make sure you're kind of on the right path with getting your Top Producer X set up. And we can even help you create some task plans. So if that's something that is worth it for you to pay a little extra to have somebody else kind of help you recreate those task plans, that might be something we can do for you with the concierge package. So I don't know if Spencer, I know Spencer, this is something near and dear to his heart because he loves kind of going on these Zoom calls and making sure people are set up correctly in Top Producer X. If you want to add something to this one.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. The concierge and premium onboarding options are, as Dan said, something near and dear to me because I helped plan a lot of it and structure it and provided feedback and things like that to our managers and everyone involved, and then I'm also training other customer success reps to do the same thing, right? And so if you opt for something like one of these onboarding packages, you're going to get premium service, right? You're going to get well-trained customer success representatives that are focused on making sure that your experience is as good as possible, whether you have the premium package just for the one onboarding call, or whether you have the concierge package for an even longer onboarding call with 2 additional follow-up calls afterwards, plus a bunch of other perks. Like I said, it's just a really great option to make sure that you're taken care of, that you do have that one-on-one coaching, and that you set yourself up for as much success as possible with Top Producer X. So it's good for new users. It's good for existing users that want that boost. And it's just something that we just have offered in addition to all the free content that we do, like these webinars, for example.
Yeah, these are paid, but we still love to give you guys free content. So sign up for those free webinars that we do. It was a really good discussion on chat. So these are all free. Hopefully you guys can pick our brains as much as you guys want. We do this specific webinar on upgrading from ADA to TPX. We do it every month. So next month, the 4th Wednesday of every month, basically I do the same one. So if you guys want to go on that one, sign up for that one. It's in our campus website calendar. Let me just show it to you guys again. Plus all the webinars that Spencer hosts. So webinar schedule, sign up for as many as you want. You can join the same one over and over again if you want to. You might hear some repeat information, but at least you get kind of that competitive advantage. Use these webinars as a competitive advantage. If you don't want to pay for like the premium or concierge version, ask us in the chat in the webinar, and we'll definitely love to kind of give you some pointers on our shows. But yeah, that is all the time we have today. I apologize if we missed your question. Definitely go and chat and ask away if you have any lingering questions that we didn't answer yet, or maybe you wanted a more detailed step-by-step. Definitely use our chat option. If you are interested on that onboarding package, just post in the chat as well. I'll give you guys about a minute or so to post it if you want someone to go through that with you and see what kind of your options are. If you're interested in Market Snapshot, also post in the chat if you guys want to kind of boost your marketing as far as providing that local market trends report to your potential buyers or your potential sellers. Again, post in the chat and we'll connect you with someone and they'll give you a free demo on that Market Snapshot product. Otherwise, really appreciate for your attention. I'm your host, Dan Salcedo. Spencer Powell joining me here today. I don't know if you want to add any final thoughts there, Spencer. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, just thankful to be here with you guys today. You had some excellent questions. We gained some additional insight from you guys as well, and some great feedback. And so
Definitely.
I think it's been a mutually beneficial webinar today. So yeah, no, you guys are great, courteous, and I think pretty receptive, and that's what we like, right, as well. So keep it up, guys. Keep joining in on topics that you're interested in, and that shows us that we should keep doing this and keep engaging with you guys like this, and doing our best to make the experience better for one another.
Yeah, and if you have any questions or you want that demo and you just thought of it later, just email support@topproducer.com. Otherwise, that's it. Thank you guys. Hope you guys have a great upcoming weekend. I know that we're gonna get a heat wave here in Vancouver for the next couple of days, starting today. I think it's gonna go up to 35 Celsius. I know that that's probably nothing to some of you guys that are in like Arizona or Texas or California or something like that, where it goes up to like 45. I know I've been there. But yeah, hope you guys have a great weekend, and we'll see you again next time, hopefully. Thank you.
Awesome, guys. Take care. And don't forget to join me tomorrow. 4 things you want to know after you set up TPX. Links in the chat there. We'll leave that for you for just a moment before we fully close off. So take care, guys. Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Or I guess it's only Wednesday, but have a great rest of your week anyway.
Yeah, see ya later.